All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Madam Clerk, do you want to make sure we have a quorum and call the meeting to order?
Yes, thank you. Vice Mayor Ashby.
Here.
Councilmember Laloe is expected momentarily. Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Valenzuela.
Here.
Councilmember Chenier.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra.
Here.
Councilmember Jennings.
Here.
Councilmember Vang.
Here.
And Mayor Steinberg is also expected momentarily. Vice Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilmember Chenier, could you do the land acknowledgement and pledge for us? We have Mindy put it up on the screen.
If people could stand, thank you.
Thank you.
The land acknowledgement to the original people of this land, the Nisan people, the Southern Maidu Valley and Plains Miwok, Patwin, Winton peoples, and the people of the Wilton Rancheria, Sacramento's only federalized recognized tribe. May we acknowledge and honor the Native people who came before us and still walk beside us today on these ancestral lands by choosing to gather together today in the active practice of acknowledgement and appreciation for Sacramento's indigenous peoples' history, contributions, and lives. Thank you. If we could salute, pledge, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Chenier. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, Madam Clerk, you want to get us started?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Our first item on the discussion calendar is 2021 Audit of City Employees' Workforce Diversity and Salary Trends.
Great. We have Jorge here to help us out.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good afternoon, Vice Mayor and members of the City Council. Jorge Ceguera, the City Auditor. The recommendation that is before you is to pass a motion by 2/3 vote to temporarily suspend council rules and procedure to bypass the Budget and Audit Committee. If we can get that first, then we can move on to the item which I'd like to change from approving the City Auditor's report to receive and file.
All right, so moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Thank you, Vice Mayor Ashby.
Yes.
Councilmember Laloe is absent. Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Valenzuela.
Yes.
Councilmember Chenier.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra.
Aye.
Councilmember Jennings.
Yes.
Councilmember Vang.
Yes.
And Mayor Steinberg is absent.
Perfect.
Thank you,
So-
Madam Clerk. Go ahead, Jorge, with your presentation.
Thank you very much. Well, I have a treat for you guys today. You won't have to listen to me for this portion of the presentation. I'm going to have Farishta Arari, our Principal Fiscal Policy Analyst, do the presentation on the City Auditor's 2021 Audit of the City's Employee Workforce Diversity and Salary Trends. Farishta?
Good afternoon, everybody. As Jorge mentioned, I'm Farishta Arari, and I work for Jorge. I was primarily responsible for completing this project. A little background on it. Our office has been conducting employee diversity assessments since 2016, when the City Council first directed the City Auditor to analyze employee diversity and compare the results to the demographics of City of Sacramento residents. Similar to our 2020 report last year, this report contains 6 chapters and analyzes city employee gender and ethnic diversity as of July 1st, 2021, and employee diversity trends from 2016 to 2021. The audit also has a detailed section of the improvements the City Manager's Office and the Human Resources Department have made relating to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Here we've listed a few of the items, but Ami will be speaking more about their efforts after my presentation. And as you may recall, we created a City of Sacramento Gender and Ethnic Diversity Dashboard in 2019. This allows users to analyze city employee gender and ethnicity data on their own. We've updated this dashboard for 2021. Due to other priority projects in our office, we're releasing this 2021 data a little bit later than we anticipated. So we'll be updating the dashboard for July 2022 pretty soon in the next few weeks, without releasing an additional report for 2022. So we'll get into the data. This slide shows the demographics of the City of Sacramento's residents. As shown on the chart in the left, the three most populous ethnic and racial groups in the city were white at 30%, Hispanic or Latino at 29%, and Asian at 17%. The chart on the right shows the gender composition of the city residents. There's a little bit more females at 51% than males, which are 49% of the city population. The report also has information on the sexual orientation of city residents. However, this data is not available for city employees, so we weren't able to analyze the sexual orientation of all city employees. However, we did collect this information from city employees that took our workplace diversity survey, and so we'll present on those results in the next agenda item. This slide shows the overall gender composition of city employees by department compared to city residents. The red box shows the gender composition of city employees overall is 35% female and 65% male. And as you can see in the yellow highlighted row, the Youth Parks and Community Enrichment Department was the closest to the composition of city residents at 52% female and 48% male. And if you're interested, the audit report contains additional gender analysis such as management and non-management employees, and the dashboard allows you to analyze more gender information as well. And this chart analyzes the demographics of full-time and part-time city employees by ethnicity, race, and gender as of July 1st, 2021. And you can see on the chart, only 30% of the employees that identify as white were female. Employees that identify as two or more races are most evenly split between the genders. And this table analyzes the gender composition of full-time and part-time city employees by department as of July 1st, 2016 to 2021. You can see the trends. Shown in the grand total row at the bottom, the overall gender composition of city employees has not changed very much. Neither has the gender composition of city residents. Departments with more staff, such as the fire department, appear to have stayed similar over the last 6 years. The charts on this slide show the gender composition of newly hired staff, which were staff that were hired between July 1st, 2020 and July 1st, 2021. And it compares it to legacy staff, which are those that were hired before July 1st, 2020. So the top chart shows the gender composition of the newly hired staff. And there were 837 newly hired employees during this fiscal year. 53% of them were male and 47% were female, which is closer to the gender composition of the city residents than those of the legacy staff. And the bottom chart shows the same information for just the management staff. And for context, there were 11 newly hired management staff in fiscal year 2021. 45% of them were male and 55% were female. This chart identifies the ethnic racial composition of full-time and part-time employees by department compared to the composition of city residents. And as you can see, there's a deviation from the city population in many of the ethnic racial groups overall in the city and in most departments. And this chart shows the percentage point difference of the ethnicities, races of the full-time and part-time employees in each department in relation to the ethnicity and races of city residents. So at the scale at the bottom, you can see if it's green, and the darker the green color is, the more overrepresented that ethnicity is. And the darker the red color, it's the more underrepresented they are. And this chart shows the trend of the ethnic racial composition of all city employees for the past 6 years. So you can see that the white ethnic group has been the largest each year, but they do appear to be trending downward, while the Hispanic or Latino has been trending upward. Some of the other ethnicities have been pretty similar. And the charts on this slide show the ethnic racial composition of the newly hired staff, which were, again, staff that were hired between July 1st, 2020 and July 1st, 2021, compared to the legacy staff. The chart on the left shows the ethnic racial composition of all newly hired staff. And as I mentioned, there were 837 for fiscal year 21. And the ethnic racial composition of the newly hired staff, you can see, are more closer to the ethnic and racial composition of the city residents. And again, the chart on the right shows just the 11 management staff that were hired during fiscal year 21. And this chart shows the average salaries of full-time city employees by gender and ethnicity for 2021. And so, as you can see on the chart, male employees on average have a higher salary than female employees in all ethnic and racial groups. So basically the lighter blue column is always higher than the darker blue column in each instance. And in addition, those that identify as Black or African American have the lowest average salary than the other ethnicities. And this chart shows the average salary of full-time city employees by gender and year for the last 6 years. So you can see the trends. And the white arrows show the percentage increase in the average salary from the previous year. So as you can see, there's a gap between the two genders each year. In 2016, the average salary for a female city employee was 84.5% of the average salary of a male city employee. In 2021, it improved slightly to 85.5%. And this chart is similar to the previous chart, but it analyzes only management employees. So similarly, in 2016, the average salary for female management employees was 84.9% of the average salary of male management employees. By 2021, it increased to 89.2%. So a little bit improved there. And then finally, this chart is similar to the last two charts, but it analyzes all the full-time non-sworn employees. So we're excluding police and fire sworn employees. And you can see that when you remove the part-time employees and the male-dominated higher paying sworn positions, the gender pay gap narrows significantly. In 2016, the average salary for full-time non-sworn female employees was 90.9% of the average salary of full-time non-sworn male employees. And by 2021, that gap narrowed to 97.6%. But again, we're excluding a lot of the higher paying male-dominated positions in this one. This table identifies the average salaries of full-time employees by ethnic, racial group, and gender. And then it calculates the ratio of earnings relative to white male employees, because they're the largest group in the city. And so you can see on the table, the male groups tend to be higher up on the list, meaning they have a higher salary than the female groups, which tend to make up the bottom of the list. We also did an analysis of each department over time, and it contains gender, ethnic, and racial data and salary information for each department. So that's in chapter 6 of the report, and it's also available on the online dashboard, so anybody can play around with that as well. And there's a lot of information, but these were the ones that we tried to cover here. So this concludes my presentation. We can either answer any questions that you may have right now or hold off on the questions until you hear from me and the management, city management regarding their efforts.
Thank you, Farishta. That was a great report. Appreciate it. A little bit hard to see some of the charts because the numbers were so small, but you can make it available, I'm sure, for folks, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Did you say that there's another part of the presentation Ami's going to speak? Or?
Yes, she's going to be following up right now, I think.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and go to her, and then we'll come back for questions. That's okay.
Great. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good afternoon, City Council members and public and city staff. Just, I'm going to share my screen.
Ami, if you could introduce yourself too, in case there are people watching that don't know the department.
Yes, I will. Thank you. My apologies. I always.
No worries. It's okay.
You all can see that?
We can, but you're not on presentation mode. You'll want to, there you go. Yep, now you're set.
All right, still good?
You are, we are in the part where we can see your notes.
Okay. Apologies, just bear with me for 1 second.
This is Shelley. Would you like for me to share the presentation and you can just tell me to move slides?
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm having some internet and I'm in a different space. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. Ami Zensleigh Barnes, pronouns are she and they. I serve as the diversity and equity manager for the city of Sacramento. My office is located in the human resources department. I'm here along with Lainey Milstein, assistant city manager, and Shelley Banks Robinson, director of HR. It's been great to work collaboratively with the Office of the Auditor in developing this report and the subsequent agenda item of the Employee Diversity and Workplace Climate Survey as well. Excited to share some overall comments and an overview of the efforts in 2021 and plans already underway for 2022. Go ahead and move on to the next slide. I always like to ground our presentation and the work that we do in a definition, and this is the definition that guides our work, is when workforce equity is inclusive of people of color and women throughout all levels of employment and institutional barriers are eliminated. This is adapted from the Workforce City of Seattle Workforce Plan, and it has served as a grounding definition for our work. We'll go ahead and go on to the next slide. These are the components of our plan and the work that is ongoing. It's complex, it's varied, it's myriad. And while the report that the city auditors just presented reflects trends that are encouraging signs of workforce diversity, it also reflects areas where there is still needed and ongoing improvement. The city of Sacramento is committed to a more diverse and equity just organization in assessing and building infrastructure and operations and building our capacity around workforce equity. So some of those you see highlighted in the slide, from assessments to leveraging current data streams and to create data streams, our living roadmap to cultivate sector partnerships to advance racial equity, build staff capacity, and an intersectional approach to this work. Our 14 outcomes and action strategies that are the outline and framework of our Race, Gender, and Equity Action Plan, and of course, leverage the expertise and positioning across departments in the form of our equity teams. And so this represents a holistic and sustained approach towards our workforce equity. So just a little bit of data. I know we don't want it to be a lot of duplicative graphs that was just presented, but I do want to highlight in the next slide our the legacy hires, which I think are a powerful indicator. This is just shown in a slightly different way than what Farishta just presented and spoke to. Looking at how the data is pointing to the hires in July of 2020 as a useful indicator of citywide aggregate hiring and the gender composition of non-management new hires, closely resembling the gender of the city's residents compared to legacy staff. Same thing in the next slide. In terms of management, we're also seeing a comparison there and seeing more resemblance of the gender makeup of our city, which grounds our workforce equity goal. So I do want to lift up understanding the practices and the procedures and conditions of why these trends are happening is still very much a part of our work. Trying to capture practical and tactical information from departments in terms of the form of equity teams and how day-to-day decisions and the day-to-day decision-making mechanisms in our attracting, hiring, recruiting, developing, and retaining staff is a big part of our 22-23 operationalizing of the department equity team goals and the outcomes. So developing our teams and doing assessments and training is all a component of that sustained effort. Moving forward to another data point, which is very similar to what you saw before, seeing new hires reflecting more of the diversity of the city staff, of the city residents, but yet still seeing gaps, particularly around white identified employees, our Hispanic employees, but in terms of the non-management, these are very good indicators of our current hiring, which has an impact on our overall numbers in terms of meeting our workforce equity goal. And then when we look at the management, as mentioned before, that's the next slide, you see that there is same overrepresentation of white employees. We have some data gaps in Hispanic, Latinx, African American seems to be on par. You see a huge increase in 2 and more. And I really want to kind of lift that up. I think that when you look at the report closely, you'll start to see 2 or more really having a larger percentage of how new employees and current employees are identifying themselves. So that's going to be kind of a subtle implication as to how we move forward with this work as well. So a little bit of an overview of our Race, Gender, and Equity Action Plan, which I know many of you are aware of, but it's important to lift up. This is a citywide coordinated strategic work plan focused on workforce equity. It has 14 outcomes along the workforce continuum from pipeline to retention, 15 city department equity teams, a 43 equity point department assessment and profile, and our capacity building initiative for staff, which is called Delta, Developing Equity Leadership Through Action, which is the foundational racial equity and role of government curriculum from the Government Alliance on Race and Equity. These are all major components to implement and launch our plan. And so 2021 in the next slide, this is an illustration of how that attract, hire, develop, and retain is a big part of the plan. Wanted to try to illustrate that we are trying to tap into all of these areas through our plan, not just the hiring component, because retaining talent, diverse talent, and attracting diverse talent and developing diverse talent is just as equally important to sustaining our workforce and our workforce equity goals for race and gender. In the next slide, you'll see another illustration of the components of this plan, the level of detail, This plan is something that our equity teams that were established in 2021 are looking to. It is guiding their work. It is helping them address gaps. It is also helping them lay out specific measurable goals for 22 and 23. And particularly want to highlight in the far right, the performance measure. For 2022, we will be moving into, and I'll illustrate in a little bit, operationalizing, which is part of the theory of change from the Government Alliance on Race and Equity. And for those who may not have heard that, the Government Alliance on Race and Equity is a national network of city and state governments that is part of a racial equity initiative to embed racial equity in a systemic and transformative way. And it is an initiative of Race Forward. The performance measure, how much, how well, and is anyone better off, is the basis of our results-based accountability approach, which we'll be focusing on in 2022. And the next slide, want to give you action steps that were taken and the goals that we achieved in 2020 in terms of launching the plan. In November to 2020 to June of 2021, we intentionally and deliberately took 6 steps to roll out the Race, Gender, and Equity Action Plan citywide. There, we established department equity teams with the support of the city manager's office and executive leadership. We did an introduction to the 43 equity point assessment and profiling that each department has been asked to complete. Equity teams learned key concepts. They were introduced to the overview and the user manual, which is a resource for all the equity teams regarding guidance on the Race, Gender, and Equity Action Plan, and of course, applying the 43 equity point assessment. And then in the latter part of the year was the capacity building goal of foundational capacity building on racial equity and the role of government. There we took very deliberate, intentional steps to leverage the expertise of the learning cohort that went through the Government Alliance on Race and Equity cohort in 2018-19 to develop and create the foundational training on racial equity and the role of government, prepared them for the facilitation and training as a train the trainer. Huge capacity building endeavor that we were very successful in. We also leveraged the other capacity building initiative of the city, which is the 21-day Racial Equity Habit Building Challenge, where equity teams and city staff participated. I think we had over about 160 staff participate in that month-long self-directed challenge. And then all the equity teams completed the foundational racial equity training, developing equity and leadership through action by December of 2021. Moving on to the next slide. This is the other ongoing endeavor, which is our Equity and Inclusion Leadership Series, which is open to all staff. We are in our 3rd year, and we had over 300 city staff, and this is not mandatory. This is voluntary. So I think that's really important because we want to move in the direction of mandatory training. City staff from across departments, including the Crocker Museum, Sacramento History Museum, and the Center for Sacramento History, participated in the variety of staff peer learning spaces on the course offerings that you see here on the slide. For 2022, we added a gender and sexuality awareness training, which was different from the previous year. And of course, the Delta training. And then moving on to the next slide, want to highlight how the Equity and Inclusion Leadership Series as a capacity building leadership initiative training space intersects with the Race, Gender, and Equity Action Plan. So when we mean the citywide coordinated effort, we really want to make sure that we're leveraging all efforts related to DEI and capacity building to support the plan. And so it helps us galvanize that. So here's what you see as an excerpt from our CityU 2022 course offering, where we are very explicit in promoting the Race, Gender, and Equity Plan to staff, and that we are encouraging career goals and course planning for managers and supervisors to develop employee capacity around DEI and racial equity. We'll go on to the next slide. The additional actions and efforts that you see here are primarily explained in the city manager's response and in the meeting materials. But I did want to highlight two of these, and all of these were the additional actions and efforts primarily led by the Office of Diversity and Equity and Human Resources. And that's the first one I want to highlight is the outreach and pipeline through the citywide classification and compensation study, which I'm sure you all are aware of. That is ongoing and currently in progress and on track for early next year. The city aims to create a foot in the door classifications that would allow more candidates to qualify for entry-level city jobs. So that's a really huge improvement on pipeline. And in addition, combining with other improvements such as allowing work experience to substitute for education, candidates who are hired through these classifications will have opportunity to advance and increase their job skills. The second transformative effort I want to highlight is the recruitment improvements. HR has made great strides to improve the recruitment process by finding innovative ways to streamline the process through technology and to automate the work. These improvements have reduced recruitment timelines by 5 to 8 weeks. These improvements come at a much needed time as the city, along with other employers, are grappling with the conditions of the current job market. As well as HR attended job fairs and gave presentations to organizations about how to apply for city jobs. And we'll go ahead and go on to the next slide. And just want to try to illustrate, because I think it's really important that there are two frameworks that guide this work. One of them is the GDIB, which is the Global Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Benchmark Model. And as you can see, this model is one that is a systemic approach to transformation for DEI in organizations. And so wanted to kind of highlight that all of these activities that you see in the meeting materials, and some of which I've lifted up, are all part of how we have this holistic, sustained effort to tap into and be transformative on a system, not only on an individual capacity level, but on a systems level. So you see the components of this work. The next slide also shows the components, the similar components, and you'll need to click, Shelley, a little bit. There you go. This is the theory of change model. You'll keep clicking. And one more time. There you go. And there you go. And you'll see the work that we're doing in green from this report here to the next agenda item about using data. This is how we operationalize the theory of change from the Government Alliance on Race and Equity, from normalize, organize, and operationalize. And so you're going to need to keep clicking on there. I'll be less dramatics with the animation next time. So keep going. And those are all components that that relate to how we are moving from phase to just moving out of how do we have conversations and how do we have a shared framework to how do we build and organize ourselves, investments, staffing, creating equity teams, partnering with organizations, and then how do we leverage data and use racial equity tools. We can go on to the next slide. And so looking to 2022, the equity teams currently are finalizing their department profile and assessments for first year 2022-23. The equity teams are to identify performance measures and accountability through the results-based accountability framework, which is our focus for 2022 and building capacity around that. Equity teams are to participate in the second phase of Delta, which focuses on recent data reports, such as this one, racial equity competency and shared team strategies and lessons learned. As we continue on for 2022, to give you a sense, as of May of 2022, 12 of the 15 departments have completed their assessments to serve as their 22-23 baseline. The outcomes prioritized, and I really want to lift this up as well. When you look at the plan, after the teams did their assessments, these were the #1 areas that they felt they needed greater support, that they felt was a priority. Outreach, youth and education, which is outcome #2. Career pathways, career ladder, outcome #2 as well. Career pathways, promotion, outcome #11. Career pathways, coaching and mentoring, outcome number 12, and workforce development and training number 13. So out of those 12, the majority of these teams identified for their departments these areas of improvement and priority. As we move to the next slide, as we talk about the benchmark annual reports that they are filling out, 9 of the 15 departments have drafted benchmarks for their 22-23 baseline. And here are some specific actions the departments have identified. So you see in SAC-PD has already started analyzing process friction points and developing second chance interviews. In IT, the equity team and their outreach team organized department monthly lunch and learns for capacity building and newsletters on DEI and racial equity that are also monthly. And the HR equity team is creating a 360-degree performance review instrument with a resource guide. SAC Fire is doing a deeper dive.
Ami, I think we may have lost you there.
Yeah, me, if you're still on, if you could turn off your camera.
Facilities is looking to develop.
Ami, can you hear me right now?
Yes, I can. Did I?
Okay, we lost you for a minute. So I'm going to suggest that you turn off your camera and then do the best you can to sort of summarize here your last couple slides.
I think we only have 1 or 2 slides left.
Okay, you're kind of coming in and out. Just be cognizant of that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So these are some of the action strategies that the equity teams have identified to support the Race, Gender, and Equity Action Plan moving forward for 22-23. Next slide, please. And questions. So that was great timing. So thank you, and open to the conversation and dialogue.
Great job. Good timing. Thank you very much. Shelley, thanks for the assist. HR director and other duties as assigned. We appreciate you. Really in-depth report. I know that the mayor has joined us. I'll see if I can just finish up this item. Jorge, thank you to you and Farishta for your dedication to this now for 6 years of working on this. I'm really 7 if you count the 2015 year that Jorge and I went rogue and sort of got this started, but it wasn't probably the best report until the next year when everyone got involved and we really pushed it to become this. And it's nice to see some improvements in these areas, especially those new hire numbers really show some gains. So really proud of that. And Ami, I know this, you go so in depth and this council constantly asks for benchmarks. I know there are benchmarks embedded in everything that you're doing, but as this comes forward each year, might be good to try to hone in on those a little bit so that it's easy for us to grasp those areas of improvement and those areas where we need to double down our effort and push a little harder. I, for one, am excited to see this number change over the next couple of years in one of the more stubborn departments, the fire department, as we make some changes in how we're doing hiring there and how that program rolls out in the future that we've been working on in other areas. I think it will be interesting to see. It will give an opportunity for new hires that we haven't really had before in that department. So it'll be interesting to see if we can lift that one up too. But to everyone involved, really appreciate you, Ami and your team. Lainey, great job. Jorge, I say this all the time about you, but your dogged tenacity on this issue is really well appreciated. Thank you so much. And Farishta, it was a treat to hear you present today. So thank you. Mayor, would you like me to hand this back to you? I don't believe we have anyone chimed up to speak, but I think you still have the controls, sir. You are on mute, though.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I'm sorry, and I apologize that I was not present during most of this. Do we have members of the public or council members who want to add comments? Not seeing any.
Mayor, I have
Okay.
one member of the public with their hand raised to make comments on this item.
Go ahead, please.
Barry Boyd.
Thank you and good afternoon to all. I do have a question for the presenters. For the information that was presented in regards to, both African American males and females that make up the lowest paid and have the greatest disparity to the top paid group, which were clearly shown as white males, and the hiring of African Americans from legacy hire to the reported cutoff year had dropped from 10% to 9%. Just refresher. With that, is there information that has tracked the total number of city appointment applications received from all races and the percentage of applications that didn't qualify for the position they were applying, and information on how many of the qualified applicants didn't receive an interview, and those who did receive an interview weren't hired, if that information is available across all races. And lastly, I didn't see it. It wasn't maybe part of the tracking, but is there any thought, or has there been any thought of the African Americans, both male and female, who were the least hired for the city employment, and the reports that have come out in regards in the manner how the African American populace has been treated by the Sacramento City Police Department? I'm just trying to connect dots in regards to how a certain population may be viewed by the city of Sacramento. Thank you.
Mayor, I have no more hands raised to make comments on this item.
Mayor, you with us still? Okay, I don't see him. So we'll take Mr. Boyd's comments under advisement. We don't go that far in depth, Mr. Boyd, but perhaps Mr. Oseguera could think of some areas where he might be able to update you on some of those topics that you touched upon.
Well, and if I may, I would
Yes.
just ask that Mr. Boyd reach out to our office and we can have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation, because our office has done a variety of different analyses, as you, Vice Mayor, very well know.
Yeah.
We have looked at applicants in the past and hires. It wasn't embedded in this particular analysis, as you know, that would become very voluminous. But we can definitely have a conversation regarding what kind of information is currently available that might be of interest to him, and see if that answers some of his questions.
I think that sounds great. So Mr. Boyd is very adept at finding various city departments, but Mr. Boyd, if you need any help, I'm sure you can reach out to Councilmember Vang or myself, and we can put you in contact with Mr. Oseguera's office and Farishta. That'd be really helpful in giving you some background there. Madam Clerk, I can't see the controls, so I can't tell if there's anybody else with their hand up on this issue. Just want to again thank our city staff for caring so deeply about this.
I think
It's really
Councilmember
impressive.
Vang has her hand up.
Does she? Okay. All right, there. I just got the controls back. Go ahead, Councilmember Vang.
I'll keep my comments short. Just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Jorge and just all our city staff for your hard work in terms of this audit. This sounds like, as Vice Mayor Ashby was sharing, that this is work that has been happening over the past couple of years, but really appreciate this thorough presentation. And it looks like we have made some improvements over the years. I really appreciate the breakdown of the legacy hires and the new hires, because it really shows that we're improving and we're moving in the right direction in terms of hiring a workforce that truly reflects the city of Sacramento. But we definitely still have a long way to go. When you were sharing that slide, it was like red, green, and you saw kind of like the percentage of in each department, breaking it down. We still have a lot of work in the police and the fire department, and especially even in management. I also want to give a shout out just to Ami, just for the incredible work that she has done internally to build capacity, really around the DEI, and to make sure that we're putting infrastructure in place to really begin to change the culture. I think we could put structural things in place through HR policies, but we don't have the culture to support it, then those two things competing against each other, it's going to be really hard to move trends. And so just really want to appreciate staff for their hard work, their internal work, to also begin to address some of the cultural change that needs to happen, right? Because we know that there's also implicit biases, right? And that have implicit bias have really has harmful and real effects on career advancement for many of our frontline employees of color and even women, because that translates to discrimination and evaluation and also in promotion. And so one way to address implicit bias is really the work that you're doing, Ami, and the work that Howard, you have hired Ami on to really make sure that we can begin to address that internally. And just really want to say thank you to all the staff for their hard work on this. Really looking forward to the next item, because I know that the next item hopefully will dive in a little bit deeper as well on this. So again, I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much for this audit, and that we still have a long ways to go, but we're moving in the right direction.
Great comments. Thank you very much. I see Shelley Banks has her hand up, our HR director there. Do you have a comment?
I do. For Councilmember Vang, I'm really, really excited. We're about to hire somebody to do some implicit bias videos for us. And we're going to do 4 videos, and Ami can probably touch on the other 3. But the very first one that we're going to do is implicit bias training for anyone who sits on an interview panel. And we are so excited to get this training, get the person on board to do the videos for us and start that training. So yes, we totally agree and concur with that.
Great. And I know, Shelley, your team and Ami's team I know we have a long ways to go. Brought us a long ways too, to doing these bias trainings across departments. And you have done a very good job, both of you, Ami and Shelley, of focusing on departments that sort of rise to the top and might need it more urgently than others. And it shows in the numbers and in your outcomes here. So great work. Really appreciate you. We're going to move on to the next item because I don't see any other hands raised. Mayor, are you back with us?
I'm back again. Please, I apologize.
It's okay. It's all right. No problem. Madam Clerk, can you call the next item, please? And I'll hand this over to the mayor.
So, Vice Mayor, I do believe, and Jorge, correct me if I'm incorrect, you did pass a motion waiving the 2/3 required.
Okay. You need us to take a vote on this one?
To receive and file the auditor's report?
This one's just receive and file. The vote was just to
Bypass
budget and audit.
Thank you. I appreciate your confirmation.
Thank you.
So, Mayor, we are on item number 2, which is the 2022 City Employee Diversity and Workforce Climate Survey results.
I understand. Okay. So are we calling the roll?
Well, I can introduce it and then ask if there are enough votes to by a 2/3 waive.
Go right ahead, Jorge. Go ahead.
All right. So good afternoon, Mayor and members of the City Council. Jorge Seguera, your City Auditor. The item that is before you is the 2022 City Employee Diversity Workplace Climate Survey results. The recommendation that is before you is to, number 1, pass a motion by 2/3 vote to temporarily suspend council rules and procedure to bypass budget and audit committee. And then if that passes, I would like to change the second part of the recommendation to receive and file instead of approving the city auditor's report. If you would take the roll, please.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Okay. Is there any public testimony on the item?
So I have
Mayor,
no
first
hands.
we just need to take this vote, and then we'll have Jorge's presentation, and then we could take public comment, if that would be okay.
Okay. Why don't you take this one as well,
All
Madam?
right, you got it.
Please.
All right, Madam Clerk, go ahead and call the roll.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Ashby,
Yes.
Councilmember Laloe,
Aye.
Councilmember Harris,
Aye.
Councilmember Valenzuela,
Yes.
Councilmember Chenier,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Aye.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Councilmember Vang,
Yes.
and Mayor Steinberg.
All right, we can leave it open for him to come back. Madam Clerk, I do see some members of the public raising their hands. Let me just acknowledge, I know a little confusion on the front, and we will take your comments, but first we're going to hear the presentation from our city staff. Go ahead, Jorge.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. As I mentioned before, we have our presentation on the survey results. Once again, you get a reprieve from a presentation from me, and we're going to actually get a special treat and have Jordan Sweeney, our Senior Fiscal Policy Analyst, conduct this presentation. So with that, Jordan, please take it away.
Thank you. Let me just get this up real fast. Okay. So good afternoon, Mayor Steinberg, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Jordan Sweeney. I'm a Senior Fiscal Policy Analyst with the Office of the City Auditor. Along with Jorge and Farishta, I was the primary auditor responsible for this project. In early 2020, with feedback from the Diversity and Equity Manager, City Attorney's Office, Human Resources Department, and Sacramento LGBTQ+ Community Center, the Office of the City Auditor used SurveyMonkey to collect and analyze employee data that is not available in the city's accounting and personnel system. In early 2022, we updated and reinitiated the survey. The 2022 City Employee Diversity and Workplace Climate Survey was available for city employees to take from March 1st to March 15th. We distributed the survey to city employees through their city email account. We received a total of 949 responses, which is approximately 21% of city staff. Although this is a very good response rate, the survey was not a statistical random sample of employees, and observations noted may not be representative of the entire population of employees or their subgroups. This report details observations made during our analysis of the survey results. Observations noted in this report primarily highlight differences of 10 or more percentage points. However, we did not want to limit management and employees' ability to draw their own conclusions based on the data. Therefore, we created several dashboards that can be used to evaluate the survey results. These dashboards can be found on the City Auditor's website. Using the dashboards, users can view the results as a whole or in part by filtering for department, sex, or ethnicity. It should be noted that due to the voluntary nature of the survey, not all respondents answered all questions. Therefore, the number of responses may vary throughout the dashboards. The results of smaller subgroups should also be used with caution, as subgroups may not be representative of the population. This slide shows some of the key demographics of survey respondents. Based on these graphs, one can see that the largest ethnicity group to participate in the survey was white, followed by Hispanic, then Black or African American. Male and female respondents were almost evenly split, and nearly half of respondents were hourly employees. Other demographics were also captured in the survey and were used to analyze the survey results. These include age, salary, department, disability or impairment status, education, gender identity, household income, length of city service, military or veteran status, and sexual orientation. This graphic details how respondents felt about the city of Sacramento in general. Additionally, we asked respondents to answer similar questions to assess how employees feel about their own department. Most respondents affirmed they are proud of the work they do, and 76% of respondents see themselves working for the city in 2 years. This slide details how employees feel about their personal work-life balance and how they perceive their professional relationships with peers and colleagues. 59% of respondents rated the work-life balance as good or excellent, and 75% of respondents felt satisfied or very satisfied with their professional relationships. This graphic details how respondents felt diversity, equity, and inclusion is promoted by leadership within the city of Sacramento. 48% of respondents feel that the mayor and city council promote diversity, equity, and inclusion, and 56% of respondents feel that department managers promote diversity, equity, and inclusion within the city of Sacramento. This slide details employee experiences with biased behavior. 24% of respondents stated they have witnessed, overheard, or seen biased behavior in the workplace, with race, color, age, and sex being the most common protected classes experiencing the bias. Of the respondents that have witnessed, overheard, or seen biased behavior in the workplace, 42% stated this behavior occurred within the last year. Overall, 30% of respondents stated they escalated the biased behavior. Only 16% of respondents were somewhat or very satisfied with the city's response. This slide details employee experiences with microaggressions. 27% of respondents stated they have witnessed or experienced microaggressions in the workplace, with micro insults and micro invalidation being the most common forms. Of the respondents that have witnessed or experienced microaggressions in the workplace, 49% stated the microaggression occurred within the last year. Overall, 21% of respondents stated they escalated the microaggression. Only 11% of respondents were somewhat or very satisfied with the city's response. This slide details employee experiences with harassment. 19% of respondents stated they have witnessed or experienced harassment in the workplace, with offensive jokes being the most common form. Of the respondents that have witnessed or experienced harassment in the workplace, 30% stated their harassment occurred within the last year. Overall, 37% of respondents stated they escalated their harassment. Only 20% of respondents were somewhat or very satisfied with the city's response. We compared employee experiences with discrimination and harassment reported in this survey to the results of our 2020 Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Survey. Due to differences in some survey questions and answers, we did not compare all survey questions. This type of comparison may be used to highlight progress or regression in areas of interest. For example, while more respondents stated they witnessed bias or unequal treatment because of someone's gender identity compared to the 2020 survey, less respondents stated they felt excluded or not welcome in the workplace due to their gender identity compared to the 2020 survey. This slide details whether respondents felt gender diversity, ethnicity diversity, and the advancement of LGBTQ+ inclusivity are priorities in the city of Sacramento, and compares the results to the 2020 survey. Since the 2020 survey, employee agreement that gender diversity, ethnicity diversity, and advancement of LGBTQ+ inclusivity are priorities in the city of Sacramento has increased 12 percentage points, 8 percentage points, and 8 percentage points, respectively. We asked employees to provide input on how to improve the employment climate at the city of Sacramento. This slide illustrates a sample of employee responses to these questions. For example, some employees suggested the city further support existing employee resource groups. This concludes my presentation. I'd like to thank the city employees that participated in the survey for their time and feedback, and I'm available now if you have any questions.
Thank you so much for that presentation and for walking us through that, Jordan. Good job. Is there another component on the city staff side, Jorge?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, Ami, you're good as well. All right. We do have a member of the public who has raised their hand. So colleagues, I think we'll take that first, or members of the public first, and then we'll come back to our council colleagues.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The first caller is a phone number, last 4 digits, 9211.
Yes, this is Lambert Davis, and anytime that I see, because I've been studying you for a long time, anytime that I see diversity, equity, and inclusion, I automatically focus in. Now, there's some things that disturb me based upon what I'm seeing. There's a tremendous emphasis on not showing the races and that sort of thing. That's how you find out if there's a problem. Now, they'll talk about Proposition 209 all day, but when somebody like me asks a question about diversity, such as on that the Asian Chamber of Commerce received $4 million in ARPA funding, when I asked that question, I asked, does the California Black Chamber of Commerce get $4 million, and does the Hispanic Chamber get $4 million? That's equity to me. That's inclusive, and that's diversity. But as long as you have people coming on here with these surveys that are so small that you can't see them, and then they don't have to really put their input on it, they can volunteer or not, then you have implicit bias training now. That's like equity studies. If the same people are doing the studies, you're going to get the same results. Resistance to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I mean, I have caught you downtown. It's just a matter of how far you're going to go. The coach of the Raiders said he believed in diversity. But after the paper trail traced him, he resigned. I'm talking about the coach of the Raiders. So you got a problem down there, Mayor and City Council. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. If you don't believe
Thank you for your
it, you
comments.
need to study
Your time
who
is
the
complete. Will you make your final comment, please?
Yeah, this is a sham.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker is Barry Boyd.
Thank you very much. Just two quick questions. I just wanted to ask, being that the survey, as we all understand, it was to be done voluntarily, and the low respondentship brings my question to ask, how long was the survey available for city employees to respond to it? And if it's possible, how was the outreach to city employees to let the employees know that the survey was there for them to take? Thank you.
Thank you for your
Appreciate the
comments.
questions. Jorge, did you want to address? It's not a low number, actually, statistically, for the amount of people that we have. It's actually a pretty high number. We're all very accustomed to polling and audits, and that's actually a very high participation rate. City Auditor.
That is exactly right, Vice Mayor Ashby. The participation rate was actually very high, and we were actually very proud and excited about having that level of participation in a survey like this. I think it is informative. But as Jordan alluded to in the presentation, since it's not a random sample, it is not a result that can be statistically projected on the population. Nonetheless, it is very informative and can give you indications of where there are opportunities for potential issues to be addressed. And it's something that, we've worked very closely with Ami's group and kind of designing the survey, have adjusted it accordingly, and continue to learn from it. In regards to our outreach, it was a survey that was conducted through SurveyMonkey, and it was emailed out to all city employees. For those that did not have access to conduct this survey through SurveyMonkey, it was also available in a paper format that employees could use if they would like to. We also reached out to some of the employee groups just to get the word out in regards to filling out the survey to try to encourage as much participation as possible. Obviously, we would like as much participation as possible, and we strive to get even a greater number of employees to participate. But 21% is definitely, I think, in my opinion, an overachievement in regards to employee participation.
Agreed. And then just one last thing I'd like to say on the calls and comments. Actually, the very existence of this report and this study and the last agenda item and this agenda item and the fact that Ami's division exists and that she was hired here and that she does this work and that Jorge and his team put so much attention and effort on this is really what transparency is about. If we were really trying to hide the ball, we would never do these studies, never ask these questions, and certainly never present the results to the public. So I'm actually quite proud of the city for taking this on and working towards a goal. And even though we're seeing incremental improvements, those are improvements that can be directly attributed to this hard work and effort of these departments. Jorge constantly bringing us back to looking at them and reviewing them and auditing them, and Ami working on it every day of the year. This is her full job. She does this all the time, every day, while the rest of us work on other things from housing to transportation to climate action. She continues to stay focused on this issue. And that is how you begin to achieve goals, by having people who are doing this full time on behalf of the city. So I'm actually quite proud of them for spending this much time and energy on it and being so transparent with our public. So I think that's how you make progress. Councilmember Guerra.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. First, I wanted to also thank all of the staff here on this report, and to highlight the fact that we have 32% of respondents stating that they witnessed bias or unequal treatment due to their race or ethnicity, over 22% of respondents say that they have witnessed bias or unequal treatment due to their gender identity. As just two basic examples of why we need to continue this work, and also to highlight the fact that I know we're making progress with charter officers on the audit on our complaint process or whistleblower process and resolution process on that. So I do I feel optimistic that our city manager, his team, the city auditor and the city attorney are coming to resolution, because that reporting process for employees, for our employees, needs to be one of confidence, and to make sure that they feel that there is avenues for them to be able to report when they see these types of activities. So all to say, this is great work. There's still work to be done, as the report shows, and I know that we're going to be moving forward this fall with that part of the audit, to making sure that every avenue that employees have is met with confidence. So with that, thank you, Vice Mayor and Mayor and all the staff for this work on this item.
Yeah, thanks for your comments, Councilmember Guerra. This is so widely supported by this council, and I really, even though it's a work in progress, it's a point of pride. So Ami and Jorge and everyone else involved in this, Jordan, Farishta, Lainey, Shelly, good job. Good work.
Thank you. Thank
Keep
you.
at it.
And if I could just make one more plug to
Yep.
those that want additional information and want to really dig into the details, as Jordan and Farishta both mentioned, we have active dashboards where those that are interested in more information can just go wild and digging through a bunch of information. So please don't hesitate to take advantage of that and reach out to our office if it generates any questions for you.
Thank you so much, Jorge. Appreciate that. All right, Madam Clerk, I don't think we have another vote. We handled this one the same way, took the vote on the front end. Are you ready to move to the other item?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Item 3 is the City Auditor's 2022 Community Survey.
Great.
All right, so I gave you 2 reprieves. We can't give you a third one. You're stuck with me for the last presentation, but this should be relatively quick. So once again, good afternoon, Mayor and members of the City Council. Jorge Segura, your City Auditor. The item that is before you is the City Auditor's 2022 Community Survey. The recommendation that is before you is to pass a motion by 2/3 vote to temporarily suspend council rules and procedure and bypass the Budget and Audit Committee. And then with that passing, this will also be a receive and file item.
All right, so moved, City Auditor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Guerra. Mayor Pro Tem Guerra. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll, and then we'll have our City Auditor make his presentation.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Ashby,
Yes.
Councilmember Laloe, Councilmember Laloe is absent. Councilmember Harris,
Aye.
Councilmember Valenzuela,
Yes.
Councilmember Chenier,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Aye.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Councilmember Vang,
Yes.
and Mayor Steinberg.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, go
Fantastic.
ahead, Jorge.
Thank you very much. So this is the 2022 Community Survey results. As you may recall, we have been doing this survey since 2018. One of the benefits of participating in this nationwide survey is that it allows us to gauge public sentiment in regards to what are their priorities in terms of service delivery and what is their level of satisfaction in regards to the services that the City of Sacramento is actually providing. For this particular survey, we did use a representative sample of 7,000 households across the city, and we oversampled in some districts that historically have had a low response rate. Of these surveys that we sent out, we received about 700 responses to our survey, which do result in a statistically significant result that has a 95% confidence interval and a 4% margin of error. The survey was performed between February 18th, 2020 and April 8th of 2022. We would like to mention that this survey did coincide with the COVID-19 pandemic, which may have impacted the results of the 2022 survey. In addition to the statistically significant responses and survey, we also had an open participation option where anyone in the City of Sacramento could have participated, and that was available in March 2022. We had over 1,300 responses to that particular survey, and the surveys did, the results for that open participation did mirror the results of our statistically significant survey. Also, in regards to this one, there is a detailed dashboard available where those that want to scrutinize and dive into the information in a little bit greater detail can go and visit our website to review the dashboards. Now we'll go over some of the results that we think are noteworthy. Just as a little bit of background, the survey does capture residents' opinions concerning 10 central community facets. Those include safety, mobility, community design, inclusivity and engagement, health and wellness, economy, utilities, parks and recreation, natural environment, education, arts, and culture. In terms of how we use this information, it's helpful to look at this information in terms of these quadrants. Across the bottom, we have a measurement in terms of importance, where we are, in essence, asking whether a particular area is essential or very important. And then up the left-hand side, assessing the quality of the service from the respondent's perspective. And so of particular attention, we may want to focus on those items that fall into the lower right-hand quadrant, which indicate an area of importance to our community that is not receiving their rating in terms of quality as high as we would like. And so those things include, for example, mobility, economy, and safety. And that will be fleshed out a little bit in more detail as we go through some of the results. In terms of highlights, the overall highlights from the results of this survey highlight concerns from our community regarding economics, affordability, and safety concerns. In particular, residents are less optimistic this year about the impact the economy will have on their personal lives. In terms of affordability, there were highlights that indicate that our residents are concerned regarding cost of living, availability of affordable quality food, availability of affordable quality healthcare, and availability of affordable quality housing. In regards to safety concerns, some of the things that were highlighted in the results are lower ratings in terms of overall feelings of safety in the downtown commercial areas during the day, feelings of safety from violent crime, and feeling of safety from property crime. When we look at quality of life items, just highlighting a few things here through the following slides, you will notice that the overall quality of life rating in Sacramento does appear to have been declining from its initial rating in 2018 of almost 70%. It has moved down to about 59%. Now, one thing that I should note that puts things into context, which is one of the benefits of conducting this survey, is that it's not always clear what that means. And what this survey allows us to do is compare ourselves to other government jurisdictions that are similar to us and gauge whether or not that is similar, better, or worse than government entities like us. And so if you notice, there are two arrows over the 2022 column that are pointing right and left. That indicates that we are more or less in line with our benchmark, which are larger government entities with populations of about 400,000 to a couple million people. And so it helps put that into context. Even though there is a decline in terms of the survey results, it is in line with how other communities like ours are rating that particular thing that's being surveyed. And you can see that that applies to several of these metrics. The one exception on this particular slide is the overall image or reputation of Sacramento, where in that case, we have a yellow arrow indicating down, which means that we're at least 10 percentage points lower than our benchmark. In terms of governance, That one, I will kind of highlight that the overall customer service by Sacramento employees in terms of rating has been trending upwards, which is obviously a good thing. But again, when you look at that figure and compare us to our national benchmark, we are in line with other government entities that are similar in size to us. In regards to the economy, the overall economic health of the city, the ratings do appear to be on a decline, but again, it is in line with what other entities similar to us are experiencing as well. When we look at mobility, I will highlight that, with sidewalk maintenance, there does appear an upward trend, which is positive and something that we definitely want to continue to track. But again, this is in line with our national benchmark as well. When we look at community design, I highlight here in the middle section, availability of affordable quality housing. That has been in a decline from our 2018 rating, which was less than 20%. And at this point in 2022, we are coming in at almost 11%, which is lower than our benchmark and is, in line with what we highlighted earlier in terms of overall results. In regards to utilities have been pretty consistent across the board in several of the areas that we measured and have been in line with our national benchmarks as well. In regards to safety, we highlighted this earlier. There have been some concerns raised in regards to the responses, and you can see that the overall feeling of safety does appear to be declining in the downtown commercial area during the day, appears to be declining, and several of the other areas. In this one, you can also notice that there are several of these categories where we are rating lower than our national benchmark. And those are indicated by those golden arrows over the 2022 columns pointing down. In regards to our natural environment, recycling does appear to be on quite a bit of a downslope, going from approximately 70% down to 52%, and is rating lower than our national benchmark. In regards to parks and recreations, we are somewhat more stable, similar to how utilities rated in regards to many of these categories. Overall quality of parks and recreation opportunities have been rating in that 58+% rate. When we look at health and wellness, these have also been somewhat more stable and are comparing well, at least in line with our national benchmark. When we look at education, arts, and culture, in this area, again, we have been a little bit more stable in regards to the overall rating and how we compare to our national benchmarks. In regards to inclusivity and engagement, again, this is an area where we appear to be pretty stable. We are, when compared to our national benchmark, though, below our benchmark in regards to being a desirable place to retire. We did include in this survey a custom question. This was something that we worked with both the Measure U committee and with the city manager's office to design the particular question. What was being asked is to help the city prioritize how to spend Measure U money. And the results are listed from highest to lowest, going from left to right in regards to what rated as the highest priority. And to get that rating, we actually combine the light blue high priority bar graph and the medium priority golden bar graph to get the overall positive rating. So for example, community-based mental health and wellness rated the highest with an 88% positive rating, followed by community response services with an 86% positive rating, and then affordable housing and homeless supportive services in third place with an 86% positive rating as well. The fourth item listed was public safety services at 81% positive rating. Though looking at the details, something that might jump out at you is that when you hone in on just the high priority column alone, the one that came out as the highest rated in that area alone is affordable housing and homeless supportive services with 71% rating in the high priority column. There were other things that we rated as well, and they're in order. So following that is street maintenance, youth programs, community investment and neighborhood empowerment, senior programs, transportation, public parks, infrastructure, capital improvements, and public libraries. As we mentioned before, there are dashboards available for this information as well, where those that utilize the information can sort the information by things like council district, age, sex, race, and the presence of children. That concludes my presentation, and I am available to answer any questions that you may have.
Jorge, great job. We do have one member of the public. Maybe we'll take that first.
Fantastic.
And see if we have council comments.
Thank you. Our caller is a phone number, last 4 digits 9211.
Yes, this is Lambert again, and I'm really concerned about what I'm hearing. First of all, and I don't really need an answer because I'm going to pursue my question, but I would like to know who is the auditor beholden to? In other words, who audits the auditor? Because if there's no one that audits the auditor and the auditor is under the, let's say, the city manager's office or whomever, then you're never going to get integrity. You'll have survey. I've been following this thing for almost 4 years, and every year they come back with the same thing. The same exact graph, same exact survey, same exact, we can't talk about race. Same, well, how in the world are you going to deal with racism inside City Hall and you don't discuss it because you hide behind Proposition 209? See, this thing is serious to me. I just drove by Grant High School and the young people can't go swimming in Grant behind diversity, equity, inclusion. And this is the 8th day that it's been 100 degrees in Sacramento. Where do the youth go? Is that on the graph? I heard youth programs. Is that on the surveys? No, because they don't have any intention of being fair to black people. And they continue to waste money to tell us what we're seeing today. You should give that money to CORE. You should give that money to the Bay and Back cheesecakes. We will hire people, and we'll have a survey, and I welcome an audit. Because
thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Will you make your final comment, please?
Yeah, find out who the auditor is beholden to.
Thank you for your comments. Vice Mayor, I have no more speakers.
Okay, Madam Clerk, just want to make it clear that actually this council went to great lengths to make the auditor's office an independent office of the auditor. He does not work for the city manager. He is, in fact, a charter officer in his own right, which is actually the highest standard in the state of California and put Sacramento at one of the top levels of transparency. He reports to the council only and can be hired and fired by a majority of the council at any given time.
That's correct.
Okay.
And if I may add to that, just,
Sure.
I think it's a valid question to ask who audits the auditor. We get audited every 3 years by an independent group of auditors that come in to assess whether our policies, procedures, and actual implementation of those policies and procedures are in compliance with generally accepted government auditing standards, which are the standards that are put forward by the federal government, in particular, the Government Accountability Office, also known as the GAO. And we have passed our last 3 peer reviews in regards to that with full compliance. And we will be getting audited again, in fact, this summer. And so there will be a new independent group coming in to assess our practices and report to the council on the results. And as is the fact with most of our work products, they are publicly available on our website if anyone is interested to see what the results of those audits of our office have been.
Appreciate it, Jorge. Got a couple of colleagues who would like to make comments now as well. Councilmember Harris.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. Jorge, thank you again to you and your group for very detailed surveys and audits here. You know, it's not surprising to me in the community survey that there's a general feeling of a lack of safety in our town and a lack of cleanliness. And of course, the general perception of our city as a place to visit and how it's functioning as a whole. Some of that can be attributed to the major stress of the pandemic. Most of it, I think, would be attributed to the excessive rise of the homeless population in our city and our response to dealing with that homeless problem overall. But, you know, there's a lot of information in this survey to go through. What's of great interest to me is how people view Measure U and how they would like it spent. And that was also telling as well. So those are my only comments. I just think that this is a valuable survey, that there's enough information here, I think, to help guide policy decisions moving forward. So thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember Harris. Good comments. All right, that's all I have for this item. We have one item left here on our afternoon agenda. Madam Clerk, you want to go ahead and call that item?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Item number 4 is the Sacramento Local Homeless Action Plan and Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Program, Round 3, or HAP 3, funding allocation approval.
Hello.
I expect to see the mayor. All right, you back with us, Mayor?
I am back now, finally.
Okay.
Vice Mayor, first of all, thank you very much for leading and chairing the meeting through the last couple items. I know they're important items and I caught some of it. So thank you so much.
You bet.
Okay, we move now to our action plan for the Homeless Housing Assistance Prevention Program, Round 3, known as HAP. And of course, it's a timely item, given the news of today. I want to turn it over to Danielle Foster, I believe, our Housing Services Manager, to lead the presentation.
Thanks, Mayor. Nick and I are going to co-lead this, so I'll pass it over to Nick Galling, our Homeless Services Manager.
Nick as well. I'm sorry, Nick Galling, of course. Thank you to both of you. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. We're happy to present to you today not only the local homeless action plan, but also the HAP 3, or Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Program, our plans for funding and for approval. So I'm excited to be here with Danielle. We're going to start off with going over the action plan itself, which does include a gaps analysis. It was completed by a contractor through Sacramento Steps Forward, as well as some of our strategies. The gaps analysis that was conducted discussed the need for a transformed system. So this transformed system is needed to prevent, respond, and end homelessness for an estimated 16,500 to 20,000 people that are experiencing homelessness annually in Sacramento. Just as a point of clarification, that 16,000 to 20,000, that is over the period of a year within our continuum of care. That's what the estimated amount of people flowing through the system is. So this is a different number than the point in time count number because of that. And there's a need that we've identified to shift investments more towards prevention, diversion, and permanent housing over time. And we've got a nice little infographic here. You can tell these icons, the size of them is essentially our investment and our focus. So currently we have a large amount of focus on response to homelessness. And a lot of what that looks like as far as dollars go is emergency housing. So emergency shelter, safe ground, safe parking, those types of programs. And a little bit smaller investment on the prevention side, a little bit smaller of investment on the actual permanent housing side. So we understand that while there's a need now for this larger investment on the shelter end, that over time, utilizing these strategies and the details of the strategies, that will have a progressively lesser need for emergency shelter beds as we then focus more so on the front end, stopping people and households from experiencing homelessness in the first place, as well as our added investments in permanent housing destinations. Next slide.
Great. And there were some key takeaways we wanted to highlight as part of the gaps analysis. One is just the need for better data and more current data. As the mayor mentioned today, the point in time count information was released, so that will be wrapped into the gaps analysis, as well as our work in standing up the coordinated access system that the council has really supported and funded through the $1 million this past year, as well as the COC in the County of Sacramento. We're working to really bring all of our services together into one access point, which will allow us to gather more data from the folks who need services and are entering our homeless system. As Nick mentioned, further investments in prevention, diversion, and permanent housing solutions are found to directly reduce homelessness and are needed in our system. And this will eliminate the need for additional emergency shelter capacity going forward once we have these systems up and operating. Also looking at how the prevention and rehousing capacity will then, of course, reduce homelessness, and flexing our ability to transform shelter spaces into permanent housing is going to become even more particularly valuable as we shift the system going forward. So looking at some of our programs like our motel program, where we're able to do both short-term and in-term sheltering and housing, and then also able to repurpose it towards flexible permanent housing uses, is really important going forward as we shift the system. Another big piece from the gaps analysis was just the ongoing need for permanent supportive housing, both that housing with services component and ensuring that we're turning over those units so that as people no longer need that wraparound service component, as they're able to move into general affordable housing units, that we're continuing to move folks along so that we can bring in new individuals to the PSH units, and our continuing efforts to really link together our rehousing supports and services with our affordable housing options so that they're collaborating together across the system.
So our homeless action plan consists of 5 core strategies that we're going to be outlining for you. It is important to note that these core strategies were eventually agreed upon over a several month-long process and untold number of meetings process with not only the city of Sacramento, but also our partners at Sacramento County, the Sacramento Continuum of Care, and SHRA, the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency. And it is also important to note that all 5 of these strategies, not only we wanted to make sure that they were actionable, but also that they would be results oriented and a roadmap for future funding as well.
So, of course, the city council has not agreed yet. And that's the purpose of today's hearing, because my central point is going to be what I believe is missing from the 5 core strategies. I will get to that in a few minutes. Thank you.
Absolutely. So strategy 1, of course, is to build and scale our coordinated access system. This is something that the mayor and the council voted to support recently, which is essentially going to give us not only the data that we very desperately need here in our continuum of care to understand what homelessness looks like, which will also then allow us to have a keen understanding of where to add investments or which programs are working for us, which programs are needed that we may not not yet have. Very proud to report to the council and the mayor that the city of Sacramento is actually participating in the soft launch of the coordinated access system. So programs that are funded through city dollars, whether direct or pass through, are going to be the first of the continuum of care to participate in this system. Our strategy number 2 is to ensure that emergency shelter and interim housing is focused on rehousing. And what that means is that our programs that we have in the community, we have many great nonprofit providers that are providing shelter, transitional housing, and other types of supports. But we really want to make sure that these programs are really focusing on that bottom line, that what have we done for you lately? So focusing on exits to housing out of these types of programs, and also focusing on making sure that the staffing component is such and set appropriately so that we have those housing coordinating staff that are going to be dedicated and working specifically with individuals and households to help them get to that next appropriate step and secure that housing.
Great. So strategies 3 and 4 really speak to the bookends that we've been talking about, both increasing permanent housing opportunities. So both through the development of new housing and further utilization of our existing housing stock and resources, like our vouchers and our rental assistance, but also further landlord engagement and housing retention services to really connect all of those pieces together and utilize all of the opportunities that are already existing and on the horizon within the city. And then strategy 4, really looking at expanding those prevention and diversion programs to keep people out of homelessness. We know that prevention is significantly less costly, as well as reduces trauma amongst people so that they can stay out of the homeless system. And these would be things like helping with one-time assistance to repair a car so that someone can continue to make it to their place of work, or take care of a medical bill that comes up unexpectedly. So providing opportunities for folks to maintain their housing, and then diversion if they're on the brink of homelessness, really trying to problem solve and see if there's other options and solutions so that they do not need to enter the shelter system and maybe instead could stay with a friend or family, or maybe just need a deposit to get to the next place. So those types of strategies to reduce homelessness.
And the 5th and final strategy as it stands currently is to invest in community capacity building and training. This one hits particularly close to home for me. In a former life, I served on the nonprofit side in the private sector as far as homeless services goes for many years. And these programs that the city is funding and other of our collaborators within the community are funding, they're very specific. It's a very specific job skill that we're asking for. And in order for these agencies to be able to focus on the outcomes that we'd like to ask of them, it's really important that they're able to build capacity within their own organizations. It can be very easy for maybe an entry-level staff to be driving back from work at the shelter, and they're driving past a fast food restaurant that's going to pay them maybe more hourly rate for a much less stressful job. So really analyzing and looking at how is it that we can help our nonprofit service providers to be able to retain that specialty skilled staff, also utilizing the staff members that have that crucial lived experience to help come alongside those people that they're serving. And then also looking at training. So the more consistent that all of our programs can be as it is relating to training for trauma-informed care, implicit bias, and all these other things, we're going to be able to have a little bit more apples to apples product amongst all of our providers. So within these five strategies, we believe that we'll be able to secure the following goals within 3 years. One is to reduce the number of persons who become homeless for the first time here in Sacramento. The second is to increase the number of people that are exiting homelessness and moving into permanent housing. The third is to reduce the length of times that persons remain homeless. The fourth is to reduce the number of persons who return to homelessness after exiting homelessness and into permanent housing. So really looking at helping individuals and households to retain that housing once they get in there. That's when a lot of times the real work starts with these folks. And then finally, 5, to increase successful placements from street outreach. So that's something also that we're looking at very closely with our Department of Community Response outreach staff that are working every day with these folks to help connect them to the system and get them equipped with the tools that are necessary to move from homelessness to housing. And then lastly, there's just some guiding principles that we are all utilizing to help us as a roadmap through all these strategies and these goals. Number one is certainly a commitment to racial equity. We understand through this gaps analysis, also through the recent point in time count, there are some racial groups that there are disparities. There are some groups that are more likely to experience homelessness. And so focusing on the racial equity piece of this is very important for us. Also, inclusion of partners with lived expertise. These are the folks that are able to, they've gone through the system already. They know what works. They know very well what might need to be fine-tuned, and they're able to really connect with and build trust and rapport. Also, a person-centered, trauma-informed, county-wide service response system. So the inclusion of mental health, the inclusion of substance use and housing retention services. Also, collaboration across all jurisdictions. We can't do this in a silo. Everybody's got to be at the table together. Everybody's got to be able to take the specific tools they have at their disposal to help us create an efficient system. And then also ongoing outcomes reporting so that we know in real time where we are at. We can course correct in real time if we need to. And we can also celebrate the fantastic outcomes that we do see. All right, so to round up the action plan, our next steps this month is seeking approval of the local homelessness action plan, as well as HAP3 recommendations that are required tables to complete with our application to the state. This summer, we're going to develop year 1 actions and activities to implement the action plan. We're then planning to return to the City Council with recommendations on aligning this with the comprehensive siting plan. And then this fall, we plan to return to the City Council with our year 1 actions and activities to implement this action plan.
Okay.
We were going to quickly go over the HAP funding recommendations if you want me to do that now, Mayor.
Please, yes, please do.
Okay.
Yes.
So statewide, $800 million is being distributed for the HAP3 round, including to the continuum of care in the county. And then City of Sacramento is one of the large 13 cities in the state. We get a direct allocation. This is based on the 2019 point in time count data. And for HAP4 will be updated based on the most recent point in time count. So for our funding allocation, we're looking at continuing existing sheltering, both on the youth side, our North Fifth Navigation Center, which was recently expanded to 163 beds, Meadowview at 100 beds, Grove, which will be expanding to 50 beds, and then some funding towards our motel program, as well as prevention funding that we highlighted earlier to really start our work there on that prevention side. And this is in complementary to the continuum of care, putting about $8 million countywide to diversions. So we're excited to expand that operation. And with that, our recommendations are just taking the public comment, adopting the resolution that takes the official actions related to the local homeless action plan and the HAP3 application, and then directing us to return with those action items to align the local homeless action plan with the comprehensive siting plan. And that's all, Mayor. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Danielle and Nick. Thank you for outstanding presentation and all of the work, of course, that went into it. I want to thank all of our staff and the county staff and the COC staff, everyone that participated in this important effort. There's so much in here that is positive and hopeful, and that is and that describes what it is we need to continue to do to see downward trend, not an upward trend in the numbers of unsheltered and homeless people. There's one piece of this that I find really troubling, and so I'm just going to put it out there. 5 strategies. Okay, what are strategies? Strategies are the lead ideas to actually make the difference that we all want to see. And the 5 strategies are very sound. I mean, when you look at them on their face, I mean, the coordinated access system, right on. To ensure current and new emergency shelter and interim housing is focused on rehousing, that our shelter is part of a triage navigation system that leads to people being permanently housed, obviously to increase permanent housing opportunities, no brainer. I mean, we built more affordable housing in 2022 than in prior years. Thank you, Danielle, and thank you to the agency, and thank you to everyone. But we know it's not enough. The message to expand prevention and diversion resources, absolutely. I mean, the COC tells us that over the last 5+ years, we've gotten 14,000 people in the city and the county from unsheltered status to being housed. Oh my God, you'd think we'd have a parade, but of course we're not, because the problem is much worse, which means that people are becoming homeless much faster than we're able to get them off the street. So prevention, your $2 million set aside, keep fighting for those prevention dollars, Danielle, because that ultimately is a key piece of the answer. And then, of course, to invest in community capacity building and training. Government can't do this, neither from the city nor the county side. It's our nonprofit communities that, in partnership with us, are going to lead to more success. So that's all great. But what's missing? How can a document that seeks to, how can we purport to make a significant reduction in chronic homelessness where there is no mention of mental health and substance abuse in the lead strategies for a joint city and county plan? Where is mental health and substance abuse? Because what does the point in time count tell us today? Councilmember Ashby, Vice Mayor Ashby, and I were talking with pride, and she's been one of the champions of this, with pride, that among the tiny silver linings in this difficult report was a 31% decrease in family homelessness. Wonderful. Where is the great increase? It's mostly single people who are chronically homeless. And even though it's a self-reporting study, so we can't diagnose everybody's underlying conditions, we know by experience and common sense that people who are chronically homeless for a long time disproportionately have underlying serious health conditions, physical health conditions, mental health, and substance abuse, either alone or in some combination. And as I said very clearly today, and I'm not pointing a finger, it's just a fact. And, you know, it's a new me a little bit, because we cannot own it all. I'm proud of the fact that we've gotten to 1,100 beds a night. I made an announcement yesterday, another proposal about using a key public asset. We're going to continue to fight and to lean in and to do our share, but we do not do healthcare. We do not do mental health and substance abuse. It's not what we do. And we cannot succeed as a city where 70% of the problem is in our city if mental health and substance abuse treatment is not a lead strategy in our joint city-county COC report. And maybe it doesn't matter whether it appears on a piece of paper, because Nick Goling mentioned it, you know, as part of the quote principles. Okay, a principle versus a strategy. Who might quibble? The fact that it isn't listed as a lead strategy tells me that we have not uplifted that partnership, that elusive partnership between the city and county to a strong enough plane or level that we're getting the help that our city residents need, because the unsheltered people in our city are city residents, and so are the people who are affected from the business and residential communities. So where's mental health and substance abuse? I would entertain a motion to add this, by the way, as a sixth strategy. We're told, and Danielle, you can answer this yourself, but I know that the state would be okay with a slightly different version of the report by the city and by the county, everything being equal except for that one addition that I suggest. But to leave that off isn't right. The key part must be a key part of our strategy to get thousands of chronically homeless people off the streets. Thank you. Okay, members of the public. Well, I think go to council members first. Councilmember Guerra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to thank the staff for their report, and I think this it falls in line with what you were saying. I was going to provide direction, and maybe I'll just move the item with your recommendation, number 6, to add mental health and include staff direction. If they could also meet and coordinate with the Well Space on eligibility for future HAP 3 funding in the next round for the George Bunker Care Transitional Center of Excellence. This is a great opportunity here. We just opened up a space also on Stockton Boulevard. But their center provides various rehab along with workforce retraining programs. But it's that combination of the mental health, the rehab support, and the workforce training that I think makes that difference. So that was my comment, Mr. Mayor. I really wanted to add the direction to make sure staff works with Well Space, because I think that they would be a strong applicant for the HAP $3.
So there's a motion to submit the report with the addition that I described earlier. I'll wait a second on that motion, assuming there'll be one. Let's hear from Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. You know, I'm pretty sure you know I agree with you about the behavioral health component of this plan. I feel strongly that the point in time count does not accurately reflect, not even close, to the intensity of the problems that people are experiencing on the street. And as you mentioned, our population tends to be more aged and more infirm than other areas of the country. You know, we have all traveled to other cities and looked at their statistics and their response to homelessness. On the West Coast, it's exacerbated. The drug problems here are tremendous with fentanyl and opioids, but most specifically methamphetamines. Certainly been my personal experience that behavioral health issues are a fundamental and key aspect of the homelessness on our streets here in Sacramento. So I agree with you on this 6th strategy, 100%. It's so very important for us to address this head on. And as you mentioned, it's not what we do. And so it really should be part of the city-county combined strategy, for addressing homelessness. It's a key aspect in my opinion. In my opinion, it's the most important aspect of actually getting at the root cause of chronic homelessness. You know, not situational homelessness, but the fact of the matter is an awful lot of people on the streets in Sacramento have been on the streets more than 3 years. We found this out at the Railroad Shelter. And in the self-reporting at Railroad, 54% of the people said they were addicted to methamphetamines or opioids and had mental health issues as well, exacerbating the entire thing. It's a key strategy to getting on top of homelessness in our region. And it absolutely has to be considered. So I'm happy to second the motion.
Yeah, Danielle suggests language, ensure adequate mental health and substance abuse resources, which should be fine. Well, if Councilmember Guerra, if that's okay language.
Yes, I'll concur with that.
Okay, good. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you.
The second does as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Vice Mayor Ashby.
Thanks, Mayor. First of all, I like the addition. And I just, I wanted to say, because we're sort of talking about the point in time count here today, that I think you're right on, because the point in time count is full of a lot of information that's very overwhelming and largely really tough to take in. But there is this one sort of piece in there, like you mentioned, Mayor, that does appear to be working. And you know what? It's focused on exactly what you just added to this motion, which is mental health services and helping those families. So over the past few years, as I have pushed hard for women and children and families, and this council has supported that effort, it's really been about bringing partners in, like Rochelle Dittmore in City of Refuge out there in Councilmember Schneer's district that he works with, or St. John's that Councilmember Guerra supports so much, or my sister's house that we all support in Nilda. Those groups, or even Black Child Legacy, which Rick Jennings fought so hard to help. All of those groups coming together and providing those additional services are the difference between that population doing better and other populations staying stagnant. When you look at, for example, the motel projects, we wrapped services around the greens and we put families in there. And this is really, I mean, I've tried very hard to champion this from this dais, but the vision was given to me by Rochelle Dittmore, Michelle Brown-Steeb, Lachelle Dozier, and Bridget Dean. Those 4 women knew that was the program that would work for families if we could kind of put them in one space and then wrap these collective services around them. And then we had a lot of support in the community from people like, Crystal and Joe and others who have been, who for their job advocate for the homeless population, who also supported this model and supported us as a city, focusing on that effort and doing things with a lot of services there. And I think it's worth talking about. I do, because I think if we can, I really do think we should get to a functional 0 on families. And I think this pit count proves that it's possible, and that vision presented by Danielle and Bridget and others is within our reach. And especially when we have such strong leadership like Lachelle Dozier, who, by the way, isn't here today because it's her birthday. So happy birthday, Lachelle Dozier.
Birthday, Lachelle.
Appreciate everything she does for the city. But anyway, Mayor, it is one, I think, sort of light shining through that we might be able to grab a hold of and continue to build on. Mayor, you've done a great job bringing resources to the table, which has allowed us to sort of dream big with how we might address families. And we need to keep doing that. And then we need to figure out how to expand it. And, the other area where this region did really well is also the passion project of Lachelle Dozier, and that's veteran services. So I think, we can look at the report and try to find those areas where we had better outcomes, and then focus on how we got those better outcomes and double down on that strategy, which is why I really like the item that you added here today, Mayor. I think it's important.
Very good.
Good
Thank
job,
you.
staff.
Thank you. Councilmember Valenzuela.
Thank you. I want to echo my support for the change and having mental health and substance abuse beds. We joined with a lot of businesses in my district, specifically in the Midtown area, a lot of advocates, in a letter to the county in their budget process, urging them to significantly increase spaces for service. The last time I talked to the county, which was a few months ago, the wait list for residential drug treatment was approaching 600. And that is 600 people who are more than likely on our streets because they're looking for residential treatment. And I told a business owner the other day, imagine what would happen if we could get those 600 people the help they needed tomorrow. It would be transformational, not just for the central city, but for our entire community. And so I really do want to echo, I think the misconception sometimes that I hear in the community about people not wanting service is always so frustrating, because we know very well that in many cases, those services are not available. And in order to get to the point of getting people into the services, there has to be a service available for them. So I'm really grateful to see the gaps analysis in here. I think it's a piece that we've been missing in terms of quantifying the numbers in those appendices. Colleagues, if you haven't looked at that, I hope you do. Similar to the last point in time count, while that says 9,000, yearly, we're thinking it could be as high as 20,000. And when they break out who those folks might be based on the data we have, it really sends a very clear message. So thank you, Mayor, for that addition, and Councilmember Guerra and Councilmember Harris for moving that motion forward. I do want to say, though, as well, that I really do support the other 5 strategies here. So when I read this pit count, I see a few depressing things. I see a significant increase in transgender, non-binary, and transitional age youth, which is incredibly troubling. I see continued extreme disproportionality with Black and Native American people in these numbers, which is, 8 times for Native American people. Yes, it's a small number, but for a population that's already small, that's a significant red flag for us as interventions that we need. But I also saw and really take to heart 2 things that work really well. First is that the new new numbers, folks within the pandemic were so much lower than I know I expected. I really thought the numbers would spike a lot more significantly. And so I want to give you props for lifting up those strategies in this plan: eviction moratoriums, affordable housing, the sort of things that keep people from getting homeless seem to be working. And we're learning that, just like we are with the women's and girls services, like the vice mayor just said, we're learning what works and we want to keep it going. But similarly, I think they are raising a flag that I need to flag here, because I think I am such a fan of the Greens and what the vice mayor and so many people on this council have fought to create in these programs. And that funding, I believe, is gone after next year. We don't have that funding to continue that. And what we want to do is get those families out of the Greens and into housing. And I think that's still that gap that we hear from when we hear women from St. John's calling it, other people that are in these programs that are so grateful to be Meadowview Navigation Center, other spots that are just kind of there still, when they probably are ready to move on to the next step. But we can get you jobs at the Kipton Sawyer and at restaurants and do all of those things. But it is really hard to find a place to live, especially something that's not a studio, when studios, at least in my districts, are going for $3,000 a month. And we know that it's hard to fit a family in a studio apartment, much less anything else. So I just really want to lift up what I see in this plan also as a broadening of focus, beyond just the triage, which is very important and very critical, to that, how do we prevent? Because as you said, Mayor, like, we are getting a significant number of people off the street, but the inflow is starting to outpace us. And in order to match that inflow, we have to start investing in these prevention programs. We have to keep people from ever getting to that point and getting those folks in as quickly as possible. The final ray of light I saw was the fact that so many more chronically unhoused people are in shelter programs, which is not just, I think, a testament to the growth and capacity, but I think also a testament in our city teams and the other teams across the county's expertise and what they're growing in terms of relationships and knowledge, and how to reach this population, how to bring them indoors, how to start working to get them on the path to services and to housing. And so I don't want this all to feel, I know when I looked at these numbers, I felt super overwhelmed, but then when I really read the details of this report, I saw a lot of things that we should be proud of. And I saw a lot of things that were really strong indications of where we should go. And I see that in this plan, especially with your addition, Mayor. And so I just want to lift that up and thank you, Danielle and Nick and the whole team across the jurisdictions that worked on this, because I think this is a really promising shift in our strategy, and I'm really happy to support it.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Valenzuela. Okay, is there public testimony?
Yes, Mayor, I have two hands raised to make comment on this item.
Okay, thank you.
Leo Kendall.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
All right, thank you for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. This is Leo Kendall, the Public Policy Coordinator with the Sacramento Metro Chamber of Commerce, calling in to support the city's application for additional state funding to help alleviate the homelessness crisis. This infusion of $16 million is another opportunity to offer assistance to those living on the streets. We know the continued efforts with Sacramento County are critical to offering the appropriate level of services needed to address mental health and drug abuse challenges. The HHAP3 funding from the state will make it easier for the city to site locations and provide a place where services can be utilized. After seeing the substantial increased point-in-time count numbers come out today, it is abundantly clear that this issue continues to grow. More resources like this are important to provide safety for a whole community. We saw reductions in some categories, but particularly families with children, and want to thank Vice Mayor Angelique Ashby and the rest of the council for your efforts in helping this population. More support is needed, however, for what is still a growing challenge for our neighborhoods, businesses, and our community as a whole. Again, we support the city application for HHAP3 funding and look forward to the state releasing funds to the city of Sacramento. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Mike Jaskey.
Good afternoon, Mayor Steinberg and council members. My name is Mike Jaskey, and I'm representing SACAC's Homelessness and Housing Committee. SACAC strongly recommends that you adopt the HHAP3 materials presented to you today by city staff. There's much in this package before you. The most important part is the local homeless action plan. The LHAP is a good step toward the collaborative comprehensive plan that SACAC has been advocating. Unlike previous iterations of the state's HHAP funding for homeless programs in this HHAP cycle, the state is requiring that local jurisdictions, city, county, and COC work collaboratively to establish and meet system-wide goals for Sacramento County as a whole. The HAP that is included in the board letter is, in the council package is a culmination of considerable effort by the county, city, and SSF staff. It's already been adopted by the COC board and the county board of supervisors, contains strategies, sub-strategies, and first steps needed to achieve the goals. It is a little troubling that the mayor's sixth strategy hasn't been identified in earlier discussions, and its merits or the details of how it might be implemented fleshed out. What is clearly needed, both for the plan as it was presented to you and with this sixth strategy, is more intensive discussion about specific action steps that each agency should take to achieve the goals and the steps listed in the plan. The resolution wisely suggested that there be more detailed coordination between the LHAP and the city's own comprehensive siting plan, and now this additional topic that the mayor has raised. Nonetheless, from the SACTAC's perspective, this is a step in the direction we've been advocating for a long time, a collaborative, comprehensive
Thank you for
plan
your
to
comments.
end
Your time
homelessness.
is complete. Will you make your final comment, please?
I will. We urge adoption of this item and direction from this council to staff to continue.
Thank you for your comments. Mayor, I have no speakers, more speakers.
Okay, thank you. Let us call the roll on the item, please, as amended.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Ashby?
Yes.
Councilmember Laloe?
Please continue.
Is absent. Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Valenzuela?
Yes.
Councilmember Chenier?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra?
Aye.
Councilmember Jennings?
Yes.
Councilmember Vang?
Yes.
And Mayor Steinberg?
Yes. Passes 8-0. Thank you. Council ideas, questions?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Madam Clerk, I was an aye on that. My apologies.
That's okay. Please note Councilmember Laloe is an aye. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Okay, that completes the agenda. Madam Clerk, I have sent a letter to Councilmember Laloe that I would just like all the members of the council to have, and I understand that I have to ask publicly for you to distribute that to the other members. If you could please do that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I can do that now.
Okay. Are there council ideas and questions? Councilmember Guerra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a direction for the city manager. The state of California has got the California Violence Prevention Grants, and I know there's a deadline coming up for the city to apply for intervention here and prevention for gun violence. Just this last weekend, we saw that there were another set of incidences that occurred. And this is an opportunity where Sacramento could apply for $2 to $6 million for violence prevention here. And so this is, a direction to the city manager that the application deadline is July 15th. I think it's important that we not miss this opportunity. And that that we take the action to apply and come back to council. I know we'll be on recess during that time, but then come back to council with that opportunity. So within the city manager's authority, I think it's incumbent upon us to not miss this opportunity and making sure that we don't leave any state dollars on the table for any of the work that we could be doing. So that's my direction, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager that the city of Sacramento apply for the California Violence Prevention Grant. That deadline is coming up here on the 15th.
Okay, do we need council action for that, or could it be done administratively? If the deadline is during the recess, that's the reason I'm asking.
Well, I'm not sure to that question, Mr. Mayor, and I'd be glad to work with the city manager on that. But either way, if it was a requirement to accept the money and whatever the state usually requires, it would have to come back to the council anyways for any obligation.
Okay. That's fine. So you want to have some offline conversations with the city manager?
Yes, and that's I would like to make sure that we not miss that opportunity.
Okay. Thank you. Very good. Anybody else? If not, okay. Is there public testimony on items not on the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have one hand raised to make comments not on the agenda. It's a phone number 9211.
Hello, yes, this is Lambert again. I'm going to end on a positive note. First of all, I wanted to thank the mayor because he adjourned in the memory of Mrs. Edna Ruth, one of the most wonderful people you can ever meet. She was 108 years young. We buried her a week ago today. So Del Paso Heights thanks you for that, Mayor, because that lady was, when I was in elementary school, I went to school with her grandchildren. That's how deep the in Del Paso Heights. I also wanted to say thank you because at the mayor's address, which I was invited to by the mayor's staff and also the drumline, I was thrilled to see that they received exposure that day. And I had heard from the drumline director that people who attended that contacted him and said, what could they do to help them go to New York and Washington, D.C., which they are leaving or have left already. I'm not sure about that. And I wanted to end by saying that the Grant Pool, about 2 weeks ago, there was a lot of cars over there. I thought it was open to the community. And when I went over there, it was a group of all white males in the pool. And I walked in there to find out what was going on, and they said it was the Rio Linda Aquatics group. And they were there fundraising for cancer. Now, here's a group from Rio Linda that can swim in the pool, but our young people are being exposed to 100-degree weather 8 days in a row, cannot go to the local pool. That is, to me, cruel and unusual punishment to these young people walking around in Del Paso Heights who don't have anywhere to swim. So please look into that, Mayor, City Councilman Laloli, and the rest of the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. All right. We have a closed session at, well, now actually. Why don't we take 10 minutes and we'll come back at, we'll come in a closed session at 4:25 and try to make the 5 o'clock start for the afternoon meeting. All right. We are adjourned.